Welcome to Matters Financial, but Geopolitical from the Frontier. I just did about 10 minutes of my podcast and the power went. So here I am back again. I hope the week's gone well. We suddenly whiz by and find ourselves at the weekend. I'd like to thank the British High Commissioner for the invitation yesterday to the fourth iteration of the Eat Tweet meetup. It was a great deal of fun. It was focused on the tourism industry and lots of issues came up. The Cabinet Secretary spoke very eloquently, said it was a privilege to be at the High Commissioner's. Indeed, it always is. I'd like to thank the Kenya Chamber's Chairman, Kiprono Kitoni, for the invite yesterday. And of course, I'm rooting for Kip. I'll put up a photograph of Joshua Chakwoni speaking with at the function as well, and he was asking for a bigger focus to be placed on SMEs, which is a good point given the fact that Chase was the bank to most of these SMEs, and a lot of folks are currently struggling. I had to attend and speak at an Oracle function this morning. Very enjoyable it was too, about the cloud and things like that. And I got to the Saharan a little bit early because you either get there at 6:30, because to get there at 7:30 there's always a lot of traffic. And I took this photograph of the palm trees and the very green shrubbery that's there. It's wonderful. You hear the birds early in the morning and you're right in the middle of the city. There is a sort of cosmic background radiation of the city's sounds, but still they're sort of diminuendo. You hear the birds more. And I'll put up that photograph, and you see the Saharan has always been full of serendipity for me. And walking about as I was a little bit early, and voila, I met the central bank governor, Patrick Njoroge, in person, so we had a good conversation, and I look forward to following up with that. As I said, the Saharan has always had serendipity. Let me take you to something I wrote in 2011. My memories of the Saharan start in Mombasa years back, when the managing director, Mahmood Jan Mohammed, was the manager. I was then a teenager and remember losing my heart to a girl who would beat me at table tennis in a bikini. That table tennis is still there, that table. I'm going down there for a function for Old Mutual next week. I'm going to go look for it. The Saharan brand has always been sprinkled with fairy dust, and it reminds me of happy, joyful, carefree, halcyon days of youth. And then that made me want to be somewhere like this, with my wife feeding me fresh crab in a bikini. How about that? I'm sure I've shown you this photograph. I think it's rather pretty. 125-foot infinity pool adjoining Ocean Grill, serving fresh seafood and other snacks. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, William Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. Let me put up a photograph of the swimming pool at the Mombasa Saharan, which is right on the Indian Ocean, and another photograph of Hannah fine dining in what is probably the best hotel that the Saharan has in Africa, the Polana. Wonderful property, Maputo. The future enters into us in order to transform itself in us long before it happens. That's Rhino Rilke. A billion stars go spinning through the night, glittering above your head. But in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead. Political reflections. Erdogan sees evil in Lord of the Rings where others see good. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's lawyers are about to come face to face with the Lord of the Rings. 6 months ago, family doctor Bilgin Sipsi lost his job for posting photographs online that appeared to liken Erdogan to Gollum, one of the most infamous creatures from J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy novel. The doctor was charged with insulting the president. Now his freedom hinges on Turkish courts' reading of an existential question about good and evil. Was Gollum bad, or was he simply corrupted by power? The affair might seem like a quirky one-off, except it's one of thousands of cases that Erdogan's lawyers are pursuing against alleged insults to the president, a crime punishable by more than 5 years in jail. Like many of them, this one concerns what a private individual can and cannot say on social media. media, and with the case drawing more and more publicity, it's becoming emblematic of a broader debate. It's only the absurd tip of a very large iceberg. There are thousands of insult cases like this being opened up at the moment in Turkey, and often on very shaky ground. My conclusions are that Erdogan, Sultan Erdogan, because if you see his very grand palace he's got, Grand, is evidently a trivial fellow, does not forgive easily, and has a very big ego. And that took me to a quote from J.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. It's a dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door. You step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to. Panama Papers were a provocation, said Putin, and this speaks to my point about the absence of any North American names. For goodness sake, could have just thrown a few in, which is such a statistical outlier, it undermines the credibility of the entire leak. 2016 Terrorism and Political Violence Risk Map, this is from AON Risk Solutions, and they are saying the risks from geopolitical rebalancing, which they flagged the previous year, remain. Generation of aging autocrats in Africa and other regions suggest a tide of change is imminent. Kenya was country risk rating was reduced, that's a positive. Increased scores and sort of on the danger list: Angola, Belgium, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Burundi, Guyana, Moldova, Mongolia, Morocco, Nepal, Ghana, Qatar, South Africa, Sweden, Tunisia, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The risk of high-level political change through coups, insurrection, or war has been attached to 12 more countries this year, bringing the total number of countries at risk to this type of business-critical peril to 68. Sub-Saharan Africa saw the most increase in political violence risks, with 6 countries having their rating raised, those being Angola, Burundi, Ghana, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, primarily due to the risks of political instability and the potential for coups and civil unrest. Sub-Saharan Africa remains the region with the largest concentration of high to severe risk-rated countries, 6 at severe, 10 at high. Interestingly, Saudi Arabia has been placed at a risk of a coup or insurrection, one of 12 countries placed at risk of coup d'etat and insurrection. This year, the risk rating of countries including Angola, Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan, Zimbabwe, and Angola were increased due to concerns over coups or other forms of power seizure from uncertainties surrounding succession. So clearly a riskier world, and a riskier one in the Sub-Saharan Africa, according to them. The US military would have been within its rights to shoot down Russian aircraft that flew close to one of its warships in the Baltic Sea. This is the Secretary of State, John Kerry. I dread to think what would have happened next. Greenland sees early ice sheet melt. Greenland's massive ice sheet has experienced such an early and extensive melt that scientists this week thought their models were broken when they saw the data. Summer-like warm temperatures and rain resulted in about 12% of the ice sheet surface area, 1.7 million square kilometers, showing signs of melting ice on Monday. Scientists at the Danish Meteorological Institute said we had to check that our models were still working properly. Such a melt is normal for late May, but not mid-April. Before now, the top 3 dates for reaching that milestone were previously May 5, May 8, and May 8, 2006. Something like this wipes out all kinds of records. You can't help but go. This could be a sign of things we're going to see more often in the future. On the 23rd of November, I wrote, I cannot help feeling we're like frogs in boiling water. We have created massive interference in the cosmic tuning phenomenon. Put up a photograph of the Greenland ice sheet. General Soleimani, who is a Iranian military man, Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander, Qasem Soleimani, very much seen as a totemic figure on the Iranian side, visiting Moscow. Currency markets, euro 112.61 when I checked last, dollar index 94.92, Japanese yen around the 109.31 level, Swiss franc 0.9679, the pound 141.58, Aussie 0.7721, Indian rupee 66.613, South Korean 111.4656, the Real 347.18, Egyptian pound 8.87, and the Rand 14.4962. The Rand's been on a tear. Bank of Japan Governor Haruhiko Kuroda said Thursday that the yen's recent rise has been excessive. He's been jawboning of late, and put up a chart of dollar yen. We're obviously backing up at this moment in time. Once the retracement is over, we'll be back heading towards 105, I do believe. Gold around the 1230 level, 1250 is resisting the advance for now. Oil producers head for Doha, counting a $315 billion cost of slump. This is all about the reserves that have been run down. Have a look at the diagram that Bloomberg posted. Oil prices unchanged ahead of the oil producers meeting Iran to modestly boost oil supply. I'll put up a one-year chart of WTI. Let's see where we are this time next week. A lot lower, I'm afraid. Jamaica weighs replacing Queen Elizabeth and legalizing pot. What the correlation is between the two. Jamaican lawmakers will debate a constitutional amendment that would replace Britain's Queen Elizabeth II as head of state and make the island a republic. The proposal is a major action item on the new governor's 2016-2017 legislative agenda. It would replace the Queen with the non-executive president. And then apparently they're also considering the legislative agenda also includes a proposal to set fixed election dates and term limits with the Prime Minister, as well as a proposal to legalize marijuana for specified purposes. Moving on, wither the Democratic Congo's democracy, Peter Fan. The constitution of the DRC could not be clearer. The President of the Republic is elected by direct universal suffrage for a mandate of 5 years, renewable a single time, Article 17. And the number and the duration of the mandate of the President cannot be made the object of any constitutional revision, Article 220. Hence, the country's current ruler, Joseph Kabila, who took power after the assassination of his father in 2001, adopted father, and was subsequently proclaimed the winner of elections held in 2006 and 2011, should be preparing to vacate Kinshasa's Palais de la Nation to make way for a successor, who would be installed there by December 2020. Except there seems to be no such movement. In fact, if anything, there are plenty of worrying signs that the 44-year-old Kabila feel, and some of those around him may be planning quite the opposite, with potentially devastating consequences, not only for Congolese democracy, but the peace and security of Central Africa as a whole. And indeed, that's correct. So it's a pretty fluid situation down there, and obviously he's got a formidable opponent who's coming out of Katanga province, which is really the president's home base as well. I'll put up a photograph of President Joseph Kabila arriving at the White House dinner. Last year. Fast forward to 2016, the number of Africans online is 29%, still low compared with the global average of 46%, but Africa is going digital and fast. South African all share up 4.01% this year. Dollar Rand, I'll put up a 6-month chart. ZAR bulls are squeezing the ZAR shorts at the moment. EGX E30 up 6.52%. this year. Nigerian FX controls are undermining political reforms by President Muhammadu Buhari and making the country uninvestable for buyers who measure returns in dollars. That's exotics partners. It's been my point for quite a while. The Nigerian all shares down 13.6% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 4.93%. Having met the central bank governor early this morning, he then held a press conference, which sadly I couldn't make at 10:30 in the morning. And a couple of comments came via Twitter. If we had to move forward past the tipping point into the new normal, this had to happen. If auditors see large differences in a bank's books, they are required by law to report to the Central Bank of Kenya. Chase Bank's auditors did that. I tweeted, he is an outlier. People were having less confidence in their banks, and the storm was waiting for Monday when bank doors would be open to erupt. The announcement of CBK's new funding facility calmed the storm, and it was visible when we looked at the numbers on Monday. It's not a loan, not a credit, not a bailout. It's the CBK that decides when to come in. Insider lending calls to question the governance of the institution. The bank is not a mama boga. So, very strong points. First of all, I think he's hardened up the conditions. I think that's why no bank has gone for the facility yet. Obviously, because once you go in there, then I think you lose a bit of control. Exotic sees Kenyan equity valuations buoyed by low oil politics. Lower oil prices, which benefit net crude importers like Kenya, and the prospect that the timing of US interest rate increases have been pushed out, are expected to foster a relatively benign environment for capital inflows into Kenya. Kenya also continues to attract refugee capital from investors in neighboring countries facing civil unrest such as Somalia and South Sudan that are seeking a safe haven, he said. Exotic favors all of the big stocks. This is the bifurcation I was talking about in the Kenyan index, including EABL, Safaricom, lenders like Equity and KCB. They're avoiding companies in distress such as Kenya Airways and Uchumi. Saying Kenyan banking stocks remain enticing to investors even after the closure by the central bank of three small lenders, including Chase Bank and Imperial Bank, because of governance concerns. On April 10, the central bank announced it would provide liquidity support to banks facing constraints because of anxiety about the banking system. It's cases of rot at the top and abuse of privilege. It's not a crisis, it's a governance issue. Talking about the small banks, with the political opposition, and this is very fair, looking incoherent, divided, fragmented and disorganized, conditions for investors are at lower risk. Political risk is in Kenya's favor at the moment. Couldn't agree more with that, and I think I've said as much. A no-deal roadshow in London met huge investor interest. This is Henry Rotich, currently, the bond on the yield on the 10-year Euro bond is back at 7.6% on Thursday. And you remember when it popped above 9, it got as high as 9.8%. I started saying it was a no-brainer. In fact, I said that on the 4th of January. Bank failures seen as spurring Kenyan takeovers in flight to safety. A series of bank failures is set to trigger a wave of mergers and acquisitions among Kenyan lenders as depositors seek safety in the biggest financial institutions. Consolidation is inevitable in the $61 billion economy where 42 banks serve 44 million people, compared with 22 banks in Nigeria, which has a population of 180 million and GDP that is 9 times bigger. I said we're on the cusp of a market-led consolidation. The issue for the central bank is to keep it orderly and avoid a disorderly Darwinian situation. And then, we know there is a deposit flight to quality. I've spoken about it several times. If people start losing their deposit base, that's consolidation for you already. KCB, owner of the largest bank by assets, is emerging as a potential playmaker in buyouts. We're looking at whether it presents an opportunity that matches KCB's strategy. So the collapse and consolidation of some of Kenya's small and medium-sized banks might even create a stronger banking sector, replacing small, weak banks with larger, more stable ones. I couldn't agree more. Sunil Sangha says I&M Bank has the lowest ratio of insider loans to core capital among listed Kenyan banks, and then got in a big debate with Barclays about what Barclays were reporting as the insider loans. Sunil was saying it was the second highest among listed banks. That video I did on Monday is still relevant about restoring confidence in the banking sector. Over the weekend, I wrote about how the core banking system is sound. The shilling is at an 8-month high, the Teflon shilling. Nairobi all share down 0.32% this year, but we saw buying of the big cap banks yesterday, big cap stocks, Safaricom in particular, which is now over 17. NSE 20 down 3.45% so far this year. Relief for motorists, petrol price here in Kenya at the pump falls to a 6-year low. It's been very helpful. The government's taking most of the benefit, and it's good to see that the consumer's getting a bit of a boost at this point in time. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Wishing you a great weekend.